This is the Sports Hounds Real Sports Bark Podcast, bringing you current events, news, NFL, NBA, MLB, soccer, UFC, boxing, and more. Make sure to hit us up on the website, thesportshound.com. And now, here's your host, Tigsta.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Sports Hounds Real Sports Bark Podcast. This is episode 9, and this is yours truly, Tigsta. We got a lot of sports to cover, a lot of events that went down this past weekend and week, from the NCAA tournament to free agency and NFL opening up for the 2018 2018-19 season. So let's go ahead and get into it. The tournament, man, we're down to the Sweet 16, and we had some major upsets, man, and some good games jumped off. Some, like I told you in the last podcast, you're gonna have these schools who's not really in the limelight on the main stage, like your Dukes and Kentuckys and, North Carolinas and so forth. But you got these schools who have the talent that has to stick around for about 3-4 years. So therefore, those players develop a continuity amongst each other. That's when they might not have the talent as the main Division I schools that get the main recruits throughout the country, but they get decent talent, but they stick around in the experience. You can tell. You can look at them and tell that the experience is there. What we had going on from the tournament out of the second round, this was a good This is a good tournament, and there's a lot of brackets that's busted. So I'm not the only one, so that's good to know. But on the real though, you had in the tournament over the weekend, over the past 4 days. It started Thursday and ended Sunday with the second round concluding. You had number 9 Alabama losing to number 1 Villanova, which was 58-81. You had number 7 Rhode Island losing to number 2 Duke 62-87. You had number 13 Buffalo. That's right, 13 seed Buffalo made it all the way to the second round. They lost to Kentucky, number 5 Kentucky, and that was 95-75. Here go one of the sleepers that I was keeping my eyes on, you guys, the Cinderella, and they're still pushing. Loyola Chicago, they pushed past Tennessee, which Loyola Chicago was ranked 11th seed, and Tennessee was a 3rd seed, and they put them out 63-62. So Loyola Chicago is off on to the Sweet 16. We also had number 8 Seton Hall losing to number 1 Kansas. That was 79-83. That was a good game too. Number 5 Ohio State lost to number 4 Gonzaga 84-90. As you see by the score, 6-point game. That was a good game. Plus a 5 and 4 seed, so you're gonna get a good matchup there. We also had number 6 Florida. They lost to number 3 Texas Tech, which was 66-69, and that was a close one also. Another close one. You had number 6 Houston losing to number 3 Michigan 63-64, and boy, the way that game ended with Michigan shooting at 3 at the buzzer to win by 1. I mean, that was a heck of a game, man. They was battling. But Michigan pulled it out with that last shot. We also had number 10 Butler going down to number 2. Who was it? It was Purdue. Purdue 2 seed beat number 10 seed Butler 73-76. Another close, good game. Then you had number 11 Syracuse going down to number 3 Michigan State. They didn't go down. Actually, Syracuse did win that game. Syracuse won against Michigan State, which was 55-53, another close game. So they're off into the Sweet 16. We had number 7 Texas A&M destroying North Carolina, 2 seed North Carolina. Here go one of your major upsets. They beat North Carolina 86-65. That's right. Number 7, Texas A&M took down the Tar Heels which was a 2 seed, 86-65. So now we have Texas A&M off to the Sweet 16. You had number 7 Nevada taking down number 2 Cincinnati. Another upset. Nevada won 75-73. That was a good game too. That came down to the wire. We had number 5 Clemson taking down number 4 Auburn. And man, this score right here, I don't know what happened to Auburn. They didn't show up this game, especially being a 4 seed. Clemson destroyed them, and I'm talking about literally destroyed them, 84-53. That's right, that's not a typo. Clemson destroyed Auburn 84-53. So now Clemson is off into the Sweet 16 as well. Another school that I really enjoyed watching play, that came out of nowhere, which was UMBC, which is University of Massachusetts, Baltimore County. They were a 16 seed. They pulled off a major upset in the first round. The first ever 16 seed to defeat a number 1 seed, which was, who did UMBC? UMBC beat, oh my goodness, I cannot remember. I'll recall in a minute. But anyway, back to the score of that game. UMBC lost to Kansas State, which was a 9 seed, and that was 43-50. So they hung in there tough, but Kansas State pulled it out, and now Kansas State is on to the Sweet 16. You had number 9 Florida State defeating, here's another upset, number 9 Florida State. And I'm mad because my bracket busted. This is one of the ones I had Xavier going against Wichita State in the final, and now both of them are gone. So my bracket is just for scratch paper. So you know what I mean. A lot of people's going through the same thing. But yeah, Florida State took down Xavier, and that was 75-70, man. And that was that was a good game too. But yeah, Xavier's gone, man. Florida State, they push on to the Sweet 16, and last but not least, we had West Virginia taking down Marshall. Marshall was a 13 seed, pulled off an upset to make it to the second round, but West Virginia was too much for them, taking them down 94-71. So now our Sweet 16 is set. The Sweet 16 kicks off for Thursday, and what we have for the lineup, and this is my Cinderella game, which is number 11 Loyola Chicago going up against number 7 Nevada. I'm rooting for one of these two teams to go all the way. The likelihood of that happening is slim, but I like the underdogs. I like to get the good story of, this team out of nowhere. Loyola Chicago is is a team you have to watch, man. These dudes is pushing. They're pushing hard too. They can play, but like I said, they've been around with each other. It's a nice, good team that has a good continuity and experience. Going up against Nevada, which is another school that has good presence too, as far as the way the team is structured and how they play. So your Sweet 16 is set with them, those two. You also have number 7 Texas A&M going up against number 3 Michigan. That should be a good one. Number 9 Kansas State versus number 5 Kentucky. Number 9 Florida State versus number 4 Gonzaga. Number 5 Clemson versus number 1 Kansas. Number 5 West Virginia is going up against number 1 Villanova. Number 11 Syracuse is going up against number 2 Duke. And number 3 Texas Tech is going up against number 2 Purdue. So now we're set for the Sweet 16. Get through this. After Thursday, Friday's game, we're down to the Elite 8. And then after Saturday, Sunday, it's the Final Four for next weekend, y'all. So you guys keep your eyes open. Watch these games. The games are real intense and well balanced. Like I said, you have these top schools with the top talent that's young. But you have these smaller schools that have the talents that's been playing together for a while. So they, they got that rapport with each other as far as the way they play is more mature. They're more experienced for being on that team for about 3-4 years because it's like juniors and seniors in the starting lineup. Kentucky is a good example of having great young talent with Diallo and all those guys on that team. Man, you got 5 freshmen playing their butts off, you know what I mean, and they really bring it to you. So I look forward to seeing Kentucky and seeing what they do against Kansas State. That's a 9-5 seed, but Kansas State's been doing their thing, and they're in the Sweet 16 as well.
You want sports? We got it right here. This is the Sports Hounds Real Sports Bark Podcast.
Let's dig into this NFL thing now. You have, of course, Kirk Cousins has went from Washington to Minnesota. We have that down. We know Cleveland had traded for Tyrod Taylor from Buffalo to Cleveland. Cleveland also traded for Jarvis Landry, receiver from Miami. Here go the crazy news of the day. This just happened a day or two ago. Okay, you had Jordy Nelson being released from Green Bay. Jordy Nelson takes a trip to visit the Oakland Raiders. Oakland Raiders strikes a deal with Jordy Nelson. So Oakland Raiders, before I get into that, let's get into Baltimore brought in Ryan Grant, receiver from Washington Redskins. They gave him a deal, $24 million. I think 15 of it was guaranteed. But as soon as Jordy Nelson went to Oakland, now follow me on this because this is going to be kind of confusing, but I'm going to show you how the dominoes fall and how they get down in the front office of these teams, man. This Ryan Grant got did wrong, but at the end of the day, he's going to be all right. But just listen, follow me. Here we go. Ryan Grant goes from Washington, signs a contract with Baltimore. Jordy Nelson gets released from Green Bay. Oakland Raiders bring him to come talk to them about signing with them, which he agrees to a contract. In return, the Oakland Raiders releases Michael Crabtree. When Baltimore finds out that Oakland releases Michael Crabtree, guess what they did to Ryan Grant after signing him? They failed him in his physical. Yep, they failed his physical, therefore terminating the contract agreement that they had with him and the team. And what they did was go bring in Michael Crabtree for a visit and sign him instead. Now, they said it was legitimate that they failed him because of an ankle injury. But here it goes. Ryan Grant flies into Indianapolis after this happens to go talk to the Colts. The Colts give him a physical. And voila, he passes the physical with the Colts. So it's kind of like suspect that Baltimore, well, not suspect, you knew what they was doing. They found a way to get out of the contract with Ryan Grant to go ahead and bring in Crabtree to sign him when they found out the Raiders was releasing him. So Ryan Grant goes to Indianapolis, passes the quote unquote I don't know how they get down with these damn physicals, you know what I mean, in the off season, but they found a way. Everybody probably got some kind of little nick wrong with them, and they just found it and said, oh, the ankle ain't good, it's a sprained ankle. No torn ligaments or nothing, just a sprained ankle that they said he's going to have to rehab from. But he goes to Indianapolis, he passes. So now after he passes the physical with Indianapolis, guess where Ryan Grant is going to now to go talk to a certain team? The Oakland Raiders. You know what I mean? So he comes to the Raiders to visit, which is today, Monday, the 19th. I think he might have to take another physical. But if he passes the physical, most likely Oakland is going to sign him, because what Oakland did during all this also is they traded, here goes some more NFL news, they traded Cordell Patterson to the New England Patriots. Since Oakland didn't have a 5th round draft pick, they traded Patterson along with a 6th round pick to New England for New England's 5th round pick. See, Oakland had 6 picks in the 6th round anyway, because they had one of theirs, one that they did with a trade with Seattle, and then they had 4 compensatory picks. Starting since last year, you can trade compensatory picks. Now, I don't know exactly which 6th round pick packaged up with Patterson to New England it was for New England to shoot a 5 or a 5th round pick to Oakland. But Oakland now recomps a 5th round pick, which they didn't have. So now they're down from, well, actually, they didn't even lose a draft pick. They still have 11 because they swapped out a 5 or swapped out a 6 with a 5 with New England, and then threw in Patterson to cover the deal. So now Patterson is on his way to New England. So now they got a big physical receiver with speed and a good kickoff returner too. So special teams. But yeah. So with Raiders doing that, they sending Patterson to New England. To me, and that frees up about I think it's 3.5 million on the salary cap with Patterson being traded, which frees up money and frees up a wide receiver spot on the team. Which Ryan Grant is coming to the Raiders on Monday to talk to them. Which I think they did at to go ahead and free up and sign him because he's a hell of a route runner in good hands. Plus, he comes from Washington, where the new coach of the Raiders, John Gruden's brother, is the head coach. So I know they had conversations of yeah, he's a good dude. Because he took the money going to Baltimore, but Baltimore did him dirty, hands down. They did Ryan Grant dirty, but like they said, it's a business. You can't be mad. You just got to go on about it and find the next team. But they pretty much literally snatched the food out of his mouth because he had a contract signed for 24 mil, and they reneged and said that it was because of an ankle. And now Ryan Grant's looking for the new team to sign. Other news, we had the Miami Dolphins releasing Ndamukong Suh, defensive tackle. His first visit, I think, was with the Tennessee Titans, but now I think he is on his way with the LA Rams, which they say the Rams are prepared to make him a huge offer. It's known that Ndamukong Suh wants to go with the highest bidder. I think after that, he is scheduled to go visit Seattle. I think the Seahawks, which going back to the Northwest, him being Ndamukong Suh, that is, being from Portland, Oregon, out of the Northwest, Seattle is close to home. So, plus, that team didn't let a lot of pieces go on their defense, traded away people. So they're in that midst of reshuffling that defense that defense that was once dominant with especially with Sherman going to the 49ers after they released him. And I think I think Thomas is on the trading block too, the safety. So it's a lot of different musical chairs being played in the free agency. Like I said, Kirk Cousins goes to Minnesota, strikes a large deal with it fully guaranteed. I think it's close to about 28 million a year, 3 years guaranteed. You had I think Philadelphia is trying to shop Foles. They're going to stick with Wentz as being their quarterback. Man, there's a lot of quarterback movement, man. You got Sam Bradford goes from Minnesota to Arizona. Mike Glennon goes from Chicago to being a backup to Bradford in Arizona. Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, he was released from Arizona and signed a 1-year deal with Houston. That's huge. McKinnon, the running back, leaves Minnesota and signs with the 49ers. You have LeGarrette Blount leaving Philadelphia and going to the Detroit Lions for a 1-year deal.
You want sports? We got it right here. This is the Sports Hounds Real Sports Bark Podcast.
You also had a trade with the Jets trading with the Colts to jump from the 6th pick of the draft all the way up to the 3rd pick, which what that lets me know, this is what I'm guessing. With the Jets jumping up to 3rd from 6, and we know Cleveland had the 1 pick and the 4 pick. The Giants has had 2. So that's telling me that they have an eye, they being the Jets, have an eye on a quarterback that maybe Cleveland was interested in taking at number 4. Now, if that was the case, that means Cleveland was going to take Barkley, the running back from Penn State, at number 1 and then get their quarterback at 4. But with the Jets jumping from 6 to 3 over the Browns, what I think might happen, if that's the case, this is my guess, then now I think that Cleveland will take their quarterback, the same quarterback that the Jets might have their eye on, at number 1. Possibility. But if that happens and Barkley gets passed at number 1, the Giants are in a position of either do you get a quarterback to go ahead and take over for Eli Manning when it's time for him to hang him up, or do you go ahead and take Barkley now, since you do have Eli Manning now, and you can establish a hell of a run game with this guy because this guy can catch out of the backfield and he can run too. So that is a case scenario right there. Then you get down to the third pick where the Jets are at, which there are quarterbacks out there to grab. I don't know where Bradford is going to go from Oklahoma, but he's going to go somewhere in that top 10, I believe. But see, another thing is if the Jets don't have their eye on Bradford, and Cleveland does, but Cleveland is not tipping their hand to people, maybe they go ahead and take Barkley still at number one, wait till 4, and take Baker Mayfield. I said Bradford. Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma. So I think they really like him too, though. But then you have other quarterbacks in the mix. I don't know. I don't know how these teams are thinking. They're not going to show their hand. Here, it's a possibility that you can get Cleveland to go ahead and trade out if the price is right. If somebody come to them and say, "Hey, look, we want the number one pick here," you know what I mean, and they might, strike a deal. Who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of movement around with a lot of players going to new teams. Like I said, especially with the quarterback situation, and you're gonna have a good handful of new quarterbacks coming in this draft also, which happens next month, April. So we're getting close to it. Free agency is still going on. There's still some more players out there looking for teams. Some teams are busy. Some teams are holding pat until they get to the draft. But yeah, man, this is gonna be a season to go ahead and check out too when the NFL season kicks in for the 2018 season with the movement, like I said, and then you're gonna have the draft coming up, and that's gonna solidify a lot of these teams, and either if they hit on their draft picks or if they miss, it can be a big deal because especially when you got a high draft pick and if you don't hit on them, it could set you back. And what can really set you back is if you're going all in for a future franchise quarterback and he doesn't pan out to be a franchise quarterback, it will set you back. And they say they give it an average around 5 years. It can set you back for you to get in the position to get the next franchise quarterback. So once you get one, because there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks out there in the league that you would call elite. You could probably call elite on one hand. As far as your Brady's and your Brees and Eli's and these are all quarterbacks that have Super Bowl victories and wins. You can even put Russell up in Seattle in that mix too. You got other teams that got quarterbacks that's developing into a possibility of being an elite quarterback, like the next generation. Once these older quarterbacks, just from your Breezes and Brady's, that hang it up and ride off into the sunset. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the NFL. So just keep your eyes open. Like I said, free agency. You got the draft coming up in April, and then you have your June 1st releases coming up too, and then we get down to the nitty gritty for getting this 2018 season started with the mini camps and so forth. So stay tuned. NBA, we're coming down the stretch to the playoffs. You have news with that one. You have the Portland Trailblazers, who are right now the hottest team in the NBA. They have won 13 in a row. Last night was the 13th in a row, taking down the Clippers. And man, they have not lost a game since the All-Star break. And these dudes are really playing. Like everybody, has bought into their role. The role players are playing their good role of doing what they're supposed to be doing, not overdoing it. Damian Lillard, I mean, man, what can I say about that dude? That dude is, I mean, he's that dude, man. Is everybody knows Lillard time fourth quarter and it's a wrap. So the big game though for the Blazers and the big test is taking on the Houston Rockets tomorrow night, Tuesday on TNT. I think 7 or 7:30. So check that out. That's going to give you a good gauge of the top teams in the West. The Warriors is there in the mix too, but Houston is the number one seed right now. Where it stands. The Warriors, they're going through some injuries right now. You have and it just came out that Kevin Durant will miss about 2 weeks with a fractured rib. He's out. Steph Curry is out until about, I think today's the 19th, tomorrow. And then Klay Thompson is out until the 22nd of March, which is a Wednesday or a Thursday. So injury bug is hitting them. They said Green also has, I think, either a shoulder or elbow situation. Nothing major, but he's missing games. I don't know if they're using injury as a way of resting their players, because the league is cracking down on you resting like healthy players. They're not going for that, and they're gonna fine teams if you do that. So that's what's been going on. You have Kevin Love returning tonight against the Bucks for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've been playing rocky too, man. Ever since the trade, they gotta get a feel for each other, and it's sad when you make a major trade in the middle of the season, because then now that team has to start all over again as far as learning each other's tendencies and where they like to shoot the ball, where they want the ball, and it's a relearning situation, especially with younger players around LeBron. I would not be surprised if this is LeBron's last year in Cleveland. Tyronn Lue also in the news. He has to step away from the team due to some health issues. They didn't say what, but he's stepping away from the team right now. Hopefully, prayers out to him, and it's nothing serious that he can't come back from. Let's see, the East, Toronto's doing their thing. Boston is in the mix still. Yeah, man, the playoffs is coming. I think we're down to about maybe 12 or 11 games. I'm guessing. But yeah. We're coming down to the home stretch for this playoffs, man, and it should be very interesting. A lot of people favorite the Warriors, but like I said, Warriors got a path they have to go through, and these teams that they got to go up against were all geared up to beat them. They stayed pat, they stayed still, and didn't make any major moves, but every other team in the West all made moves to improve, to take them down. Houston being the number one team right now, because the way Chris Paul and the Beard is playing, they're playing good ball, man. And I think out of the last 18 or 19 games, they're hot too. They only lost once, so keep your eyes open on them. Toronto, Boston. I don't know what Cleveland's going to pan out to. I be honest with you, unless LeBron hit a switch and just throw everybody on his back. Well, the East, I think Toronto might. They could do it. They got a good team. Toronto got a damn good team. Boston, injury bug is hitting them too. So it's just bad that the injury bug hits you at the end of the season, because that's when you really have to be healthy to go into these 7-game series in this league, man, because these teams are gunning for you. I don't care if it's 1 through 8 seeds. 8 seeds is going to gun for you. Even if it's a sweep, it's not going to be an easy sweep. This is your boy Tixter. This is episode 9, the Sports Hound Real Sports Bark podcast, and I'm out.
Thanks for checking out the Sports Hounds Real Sports Bark podcast. For more exclusive content, follow us on all social media. Twitter, Sportshound 24/7. Instagram, Sportshound Media. Facebook, Sportshound Media. And on the website at thesportshound.com. And tell your damn friends about the hottest sports podcast on the web.